I've got your holiday cookie platter covered with these gluten-free snickerdoodles. If you like making cookies that no one can tell they're gluten-free, even Uncle Jerry that always asks, are these gluten-free, so he can purposely ignore them, this is the way you fool everyone. These snickerdoodles are soft and chewy, but they don't spread. They're not greasy. I've got the magic recipe for you. Let's make them. So we're gonna start with creaming the butter. You need 2 sticks of butter, and this is where you can run into trouble with gluten-free snickerdoodle cookies because they contain a lot of fat, and gluten-free starches have a harder time soaking up that fat. So we have to make sure the ratio of the gluten-free flour is adequate to the fat. To that, we add a cup of granulated sugar and a 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. Now we're gonna cream the butter and sugar. This is gonna take longer than you're probably gonna wanna mix. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to get it nice and creamed. It will mix together first. Don't stop there. Keep going until it gets really light and fluffy. To this, we're adding 2 large eggs, which I recommend being room temp just so it blends homogeneously in the butter sugar mixture, and then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Then just mix that to combine. Again, first it's gonna look like a weird curdled texture, but keep mixing and then it'll eventually blend and smooth out. The last thing you add to the dough is the dry ingredients. Okay, this is what makes snickerdoodles. Cream of tartar. What is cream of tartar? I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know what it does. You need 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, and it's what gives it that slightly cake-like texture. It prevents the sugar from crystallizing, which also increases the lift of the cookies, making them a little fluffier. When the sugar doesn't crystallize, that prevents it from becoming a chewy cookie and becoming more of a soft cookie. So these are like a great cross between a chewy and a cake-like cookie. What makes it slightly chewy is the baking soda. And you need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then also essential, cinnamon. You need 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. The last very important ingredient is your gluten-free flour. You need 3 cups, which is 466 grams of gluten-free flour. I always use and recommend cup for cup, which I especially like for cookies because cookies I feel like have a tendency to be very gritty because they're just the flour and the fat basically. Cup for Cup uses cornstarch in their blend, which softens out the texture. Now, if you read through the recipe comments, people have used other gluten-free flour blends. This is just my preferred. And then just mix that to combine. The last thing I recommend is chilling the dough. I do this for a few reasons. First of all, it helps them not spread. When you have the cold dough, it won't spread as much as they're baking. Also, it gives time for those gluten-free starches to absorb all the liquid in the ingredient, which also helps prevent getting a gritty texture. And last, they're just easier to roll and shape if the dough is cold. Now, snickerdoodles, we shape into balls and we roll in a cinnamon and sugar mixture. So you want the dough to be a little bit firm so you can roll it around in there. So I recommend 1 to 2 hours, but if you need to do it overnight, I've done that as well. After dough's chilled, I recommend using a cookie scoop is the fastest way to do this. I'm using a medium cookie scoop. Just scoop at the dough, plop it in your hands, and then just roll it into a ball. And once that's shaped, then I'm rolling it in a cinnamon and sugar mixture. This is 1/3 cup of sugar with a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then just put it on your baking sheet. Once they're all rolled out, then you'll want to put them in a 350 oven and bake for about 12 to 13 minutes. You don't want to overbake them. You want them still nice and soft and chewy. So you're just looking for the bottoms to be set and then the cookies to start to crack. You can also make these cookies dairy-free if you just use a dairy-free substitute for the butter. I would use a plant-based buttered stick and then cut back on the salt by about half just because vegan butter is a little saltier. Now, if you want to make these ahead of time, gluten-free cookies dry out really quickly. They already have a hard time absorbing that moisture, so they lose the moisture quickly. I recommend either 1 or 2 things. I would roll them in the ball shape and then freeze them in the balls and then bake straight from frozen. Or your other option is to bake them, cool them completely, and then I wrap them up in like stacks of 2 or 3 in plastic wrap, transfer them to a Ziploc freezer bag, and freeze them like that. They're best enjoyed within a day or 2 of making them, so if you need them for a holiday cookie platter, I recommend doing either of those options. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.